Have you ever wondered why your orgasms aren't as good as they used to be? Hello, my successful and healthy earthlings. Mihaela Ragushia, naturopath and founder of the Natural Health Podcast. Today, I'm going to share with you a vitamin which is going to help you with your sex life. And also, I call it the vitamin O. I want to talk about the orgasm vitamin, then I'm going to go into how it works, and then I'm going to give you 3 tips to improve your sexual function. At the end of this episode, I'm also going to give you an opportunity to join a health and success-oriented community by joining the newsletter below. Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, where we bring awareness to sustainable health in a business hustle space. Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing, business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve success and optimal health. It's Mondays with Mihaela. That's right, me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Absolutely love, and appreciate your support. Here on Mondays, I'm here to provide you with simple, savvy, and sustainable health hacks to optimize your health. Let's get into it. Today's going to be an exciting episode because I'm going to talk about everything to improve the women's sexual function with one vitamin. Yes, that's right. One vitamin has been linked to women's sexual function decline or non-existence. I mean, all my women out there are like, I want my sex drive back. I want to achieve the orgasm that I used to. I don't know why I don't anymore. Look, there are so many actual things that, the women's sexuality is complex and it's affected by so many different biological, psychological, social, and emotional factors. And all the women out there are like, yes, you are correct, Mihaela. Look, female sexual dysfunction is actually when a woman experiences symptoms relating to impairment of desire, arousal, lubrication, orgasm, satisfaction, and even pain. Experiencing any single one of these can be a diagnosis. However, there must also be a source of distress for a woman to qualify as a sign of female sexual dysfunction. So this is kind of like if you want to be diagnosed with by a doctor. But I mean, when your orgasms aren't the way they used to be, right? So let's go into it. Let's talk about the orgasm vitamin. So the thing is what is the sexiest vitamin? That is the question. It's kind of like, what vitamin is this? What am I talking about? A recent study says the answer for women could be, are you ready for it? Vitamin D. That's right. And if you've listened to any of my podcast episodes before, you're like, hey, Mihaela, that's not a vitamin, that's a hormone. You are correct. So vitamin D is actually a fat-soluble nutrient. It's one of the 24 microcurrent critical for human survival. The sun is the major source of providing us with vitamin D, but it can also come with fish, eggs, and also some dairy products. So supplementing vitamin D is associated with so many benefits, right? And who would have thought one of them would be an orgasm? The other one includes cognition, immune health, bone health, overall well-being. Also, in addition to that, there have been some studies showing that if you supplement vitamin D, it can also reduce the risk of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, also MS, multiple sclerosis, and also people deficient in vitamin D may also experience increased testosterone levels after supplementation. So it's kind of like increases your testosterone. And that's why I'm going to go into how this vitamin actually helps with your sexual function. So essentially, I've done an episode on vitamin D before, but I'll just slowly dip into it a little bit to give you a little bit of an overview. So vitamin D cannot be made without cholesterol. We need cholesterol to make vitamin D, provided there is an adequate amount of UV light from the sun and cholesterol, your body's able to produce vitamin D. And if your liver function is on point, and same as kidneys. There's so many things to take in consideration for vitamin D. There is only a sufficient amount of UV light coming from the sun with the UV index 3 or higher, which only occurs year-round near the equator between the 37th parallels. So essentially, it's kind of saying there's UV light varies throughout the whole, depends where you live. If you live in Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, Finland, like UV light is going to be totally different at different times. So but most people are not vitamin D deficient, but they do not have optimal levels of vitamin D. So look, we can argue with that here in Australia because a lot of us are vitamin D deficient in Australia. Absolutely a lot of us. I mean, think about this, right? You wake up, this is to all my women out there, even men, right? You wake up, you go to the bathroom, you go to the kitchen, make yourself a coffee, and then you jump in the car, you go to the office and you go to work. And those people that are working from home, you go from your bedroom, or you might even stay in your bedroom, you just get your laptop out and off you go. You don't, when are you exposed to vitamin D? Think about it throughout your day. When are you exposed to sunlight for you to be able to produce vitamin D? Probably not that often. If so, you'll go outside in the afternoon or sunset in the evening. And that's when the UV light isn't the light, the sun isn't the highest for you to get the vitamin D that you need. So you're really not really exposed to the sun at all, if a limited amount, if any. So let's look into a study, right? This is a study that kicked it all off. Like, how does it all work? So the study says the title is Hypovitaminosis D is associated with sexual dysfunction in apparently healthy women. In 2018, the study included 47 women with vitamin D deficiency or insufficiency. All women with vitamin D deficiency were treated with oral vitamin D, while women with vitamin D insufficiency were treated with vitamin D or left untreated. At the beginning of the study, 6 months later, all patients completed questionnaires evaluating the female sexual function and also depressive symptoms. So the 6-month trial took this. If your levels were under 20, you took 4,000 IUs daily. If your levels were between 20 and 30, half the women took 2,000 IUs daily, and half the women between 20 and 30 took no vitamin D. The total score and scores in 3 domains, sexual desire, orgasm, and satisfaction, were lower, while the overall BDI-2 score was higher in women with vitamin D deficiency than in women with vitamin D insufficiency. So vitamin D improved sexual desire in women with both vitamin D deficiency and vitamin D insufficiency, increased the total of FSF1, which is the female sexual function, and scores for orgasm and sexual satisfaction, as well as decreased the total BDI-2, which is depressive symptoms, scores in women with vitamin D deficiency. Doesn't that just blow your mind? That blows my mind. So a total of 50 women. So this is absolutely crazy. So this is saying that these women who had low vitamin D concluded the questionnaire for female sexual function before, when their levels were lower than 20 or between 20 and 30, and then they took vitamin D, and their level and their sexual function improved, right? This isn't the only study. There are so many studies that prove this. So many studies out there that go in line with this. And this is why I love it, right? So let's look into, how does it actually work? How does this vitamin D, assist with female sexual function? Well, the first way that I see it working is via testosterone, right? I said it earlier, when individuals who are vitamin D deficient and they took vitamin D supplements, their testosterone went up, okay? Yes, us female need testosterone 100%. Austrian research have found that men who have more vitamin D in the blood also have more testosterone in the blood, as testosterone is the most important hormone for influences the sex drive. These findings suggest that high vitamin D levels are correlated with higher libido. Yes, in men. This is in men. I know there's studies done in men, but it could also be taken into consideration for women. The other one is depression, right? Vitamin D deficiency can increase symptoms of depression by as much as 14%. I think it might even be higher than that. I have to look at those studies, but it's absolutely dramatic. Depression, in turn, can very easily lower one's sex drive. And that's that study that I spoke about earlier. It hits 2 things at once. It hits the depression and the sexual function, boom, increase right there. The other one, how it can impact low vitamin D can impact our sexual function, is circadian rhythm. So being exposed to bright light during the day helps to regulate the circadian rhythm, helping us sleep better. I mean, I talk about circadian rhythms all the time. You'll know all about it. So it helps prevent sleep deprivation by having a right circadian rhythm. But sleep deprivation itself can actually cause a low libido. Okay, so if individuals aren't sleeping well, their libido is going too low. In addition to that, sunlight lowers the level of melatonin in your body. High melatonin levels have been linked to decreased testosterone. Sunlight exposure also increases levels of serotonin, an important hormone for maintaining a happy mood and a healthy sex drive. So there you have it. Circadian rhythm is absolutely key for you to have a sexy self-drive, a sexy, healthy sex drive, right? To achieve that big O. The other one is also MCH, which is melanocyte stimulating hormone. The sun can work with increase libido in women by the way of hormone called the MSH, which is produced during the sun exposure and has a direct effect on female libido. So this is also another direct way. There's so many ways there. I'm only mentioning a few here right now. The other thing that needs to be taken into consideration is that unfortunately for women suffering with this sexual dysfunction, the answer isn't as straightforward as taking a vitamin D supplement. It's not kind of like, okay, cool, I'm not having that orgasm that I want, let's shove those vitamin Ds in my mouth. However, the study indicates that investigating serum vitamin D levels from your doctor is an absolutely amazing place to start to know what your vitamin D levels are. Because if your vitamin D levels are less than 30, that study is clearly saying that there may be issues with depression, but also your sex drive. Vitamin D plays an important role in hormone production. It also assists so many other things, testosterone, estrogen. So low levels of estrogen can affect a libido and lubrication also. So if individuals have any issues with that, the other things that may be affecting a sexual response in women include thyroid, adrenal, pituitary disorders, conditions such as diabetes, sickle cell anemia, nerve damage, pelvic inflammatory disease, vaginitis, endometriosis, prolapsed uterus, certain medications, certain surgeries, and also certain pharmaceutical medications. So there's so many things to take in consideration. I just thought I'll sum it up a little bit here for you right now for you to understand how important vitamin D is in women's health, in particular in achieving that big orgasm, but not only that, also to get that libido happening, to enjoy your sexual function. Vitamin D is absolutely key. So, the thing is think about this, right? Individuals might be so sexually active and have this libido in summer, and it's like, oh, I just feel happier. And then in winter, it goes down. Well, think about this. When does vitamin D go down? In winter. Okay, so next time it's winter, think about, why has my libido reduced? Why am I not achieving that orgasm that I usually do in summer? It may be your vitamin D levels are just dropping below, and then summer comes, you're spending more time outside and your libido goes up. So it's so many things to take in consideration and to make a link, right? And this is what I'm here to provide you with, just some information for you to click and get that link in your head and be like, oh, okay, I know what's happening. So let's talk about 3 tips to improve your sexual function. And this works for men and women. I know this podcast episode is specifically for women, but this is also for men. Number 1 is get your vitamin D checked and optimize it. What is your current vitamin D level without taking any supplementation for a week before you're getting your blood test done, figuring out what your vitamin D levels are, and then working with a healthcare professional to get the right dosage at the right time and the right supplement to increase it gradually, right? Second one is get healthy sun exposure. And I know you might be talking, be like, I don't have any sun exposure, it's winter here. Well, get as much as possible healthy sun exposure. Put it in your routine in your head and be like, I need to get sun exposure today, right? Third one that I always talk about is circadian rhythm. Absolutely love the circadian rhythm. Get your circadian rhythm on point, get it on the right way, and off you go. There you have it. You have this amazing sexual function, amazing libido, amazing orgasms, just with these 3 little tips. Recognizing the link between vitamin D and sex drive can serve as an advantage in your life, and it could be such a simple little thing to fix, and off you go. You have this absolutely amazing sex life, amazing sex drive, libido, and you're finally achieving that big O that you haven't had for a while, right? Let me know in the comments below if this is something that resonates with you. Keep me updated. I would love to know what your vitamin D levels are. Put them in the comments below and let me know what you're doing or what have you done to increase your vitamin D levels. So there you have it. And vitamin D, and think about next time it's winter, does your sex drive, your libido drop? I would love to know. If you know someone who would absolutely benefit from this episode, feel free to share this with them. Share it with them. They're going to love you. They're going to love you so much for it, and their partner may love you even more. Do what you do best. Love, like, share, comment on the Natural Health Podcast. And please join the newsletter, the Natural Health newsletter, to be part of a community that's health and success oriented with bonuses, special research out for you every Friday. There you have it. Remember, the missing link between failure and success is your health. Content and information provided here is opinion of Mahela Raguse and is for information purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. It is not intended to provide medical advice or take the place of medical advice or any current treatment you're undertaking. Consult your own medical professionals for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast. It is advised that you consult your doctor or healthcare professional in relation to any health concerns you may be having. Mahela Raguse does not take responsibility for any health consequences which occur from a person listening, viewing, or reading this content. Under no circumstances shall the Natural Health Podcast, Mahela Raguse, any guest or contributor to the Natural Health Podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Mahela Raguse be responsible for damages arising from the information provided on the Natural Health Podcast. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical conditions in either yourself or others. Please note, if you're taking prescription, do not stop your medication or start a new protocol, including but not limited to supplements, diet, lifestyle changes without consulting a doctor or healthcare professional. If you or any person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical advice. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have read or heard on the Natural Health Podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. Neither Mahela Raguse nor the publisher of this content takes responsibility for the possible health consequences of any person or persons reading or listening or following the information in the educational content.